Hey everyone, this is Darin Kidd. Thanks for tuning in once again. I know some of you are like, Darin, you've been gone for a long time. What the heck are you doing so many live streams for now? Well, anyway, I just got things I want to share with you. You know, I'm fired up, I'm excited, I'm reading, I'm learning, and I'm growing, and I like to share those things. And the way I figure it is, hey, look, if you're on the page and you jump on, it's because you want the information as well. And I'm always happy to share that with you. And so do me a favor. As you come online, let me know, where you're watching from, what city, what state, what province in Canada, what country. Hey, Jennifer, welcome. I went back and I was just looking at one of the previous lives, and we had people from Africa and Australia and all over the world, which is really exciting. And then also as you watch this, if you think of people that you go, hey man, they need to hear this, and this is something that would inspire and motivate and make a difference in someone else's life, go ahead and share that with them as well, because I'm going to tell you, when I read or go over what I just read and some of the things that I'm learning, I think that it could definitely spark something in some of you that can make a difference. What's up, Lucas? Hey, Deb. Hey, Angela. Welcome. And so also, before I'm getting ready to do this little quick live stream, here's what I want your help on, if you don't mind. Hey, Howard, if you could do me a favor, even if you're watching this on replay, okay, what I would like for you to do is let me know, because Facebook has definitely made some big changes, right? And not in a good way for the business page. For example, my business page, my other Darin Kidd page, probably has close to 170,000 people on it, 168,000 or something like that. The reach, when I used to do a post, used to be tens of thousands of people. Now it's down to a few because they've changed the algorithm, and I think they want to encourage you to pay for ads if you want those people, if you want it to reach people. So what I want to do is maybe, because I want to know how many of you that are watching this actually have some type of home-based business, some type of network marketing, direct sales business. If you would like for me to start doing some trainings on this platform, on this page, because this gets a whole lot more traction than the other page, and actually with the friends that we have on here and the followers and all of that, I think that would be good. So if you could let me know, that'd be great in the comments below. And the way I see it is, hey, look, if they want the training, they jump on. If they don't jump on. And if they don't like the content, they can always unfollow. So what I want to do, and again, keep telling me where you're calling in from. Not calling in from, where you're watching from, what location, because it's always interesting to come back. And then at any point, if any of this hits you like it hit me, drop one of your takeaways in the comments below, because that's always interesting too, because all of us are different points in our life, and it hits us in different ways, okay? So as you know, I've been reading, if you watched the last live stream, this book called Max Out Your Life by Ed Mylett. And what a powerful story he has. He's just a great guy. And so if he has a podcast, this is his new book. It's my type of book. It's very simple. It's only a few words per page. But I want to tell you, they are power-packed pages. Like, it is one golden nugget after another that will make a big difference in your life. And so that's, it's definitely exciting. But I wanted to read something to you on the first couple pages and talk about it and see if it hits you like it hits me. So in the beginning of the book, he talks about there are 86,400 seconds in a day. We each have the same 1,440 minutes to spend however we choose. And each of these minutes are precious moments. Some moments will be memorable, some regretful, and too many of them will be wasted. And so time is measured by our birth and death. How we use those moments in between determine the quality of our lives. Hour by hour, minute by minute, these small units of time are too often filled with little things that really seem to matter at the time, seeking small pleasures, avoiding minor comforts, pursuing trivial goals. We're too easily offended and too consumed with the opinions of others. Okay, isn't that the truth? Let me ask you a quick question. When's the last time someone's opinion paid your bills? Right? I don't know. I don't remember. Exactly. And so if we're not careful, we begin to exist and not really live. That's important. So listen to this. This is what I want to get to you. The average lifespan for a person is 78 years. Of those years, 28 will be spent sleeping. 7 of those sleeping will be spent laying awake at night with worry. Factor in the average 11 years watching TV or surfing the internet, 10 and a half years working, 4 years driving, the years spent eating, getting dressed, and doing mundane tasks, and it leaves approximately 8 years to live. Isn't that something to think about, right? And so let me finish what he said here. If we knew we only had 8 years to live, what would you do? What type of sense of urgency would you have? And how deep would your gratitude be for each and every moment? Isn't that the truth? If we found out today we only had so many years to live, we would thank God for every single minute of the day. Well, you know what? We never know when that day is going to come. Why not do like that now? Why not treat every day as if it's the last day of our life, and one day we're going to be right? Can I get an amen on that one? And then there's one more thing before I go into a little bit of training and drop some other stuff on you that I think will make a big difference. Benjamin Franklin said, most men die at age 25, but we just don't get around to burying them until they're 75. That is referring to the fact that most people never live a fulfilling life. How many of you have ever read any of Dr. Miles Monroe, the late Dr. Miles Monroe books? He talked about how one of the wealthiest places in the world is the graveyard. Okay, it's where there's songs that hadn't been written, books that hadn't been written, all types of things, because people go to their grave with it still in their head, still in their heart. And that's so true. And I was thinking about some of the stories because we procrastinate, we wait, we worry about other people's opinion. And like I said, when has anybody's opinion ever paid your bills, ever showed up and took care of you and your family, right? It doesn't. And so if you look at just some of the stories, because stories definitely sell and facts tell. So I love watching The Rock, right? He's very motivated and driven, when it comes to his fitness and his movies. But if you ever listen to The Rock's story, because I love listening to people's stories. How did they go from where they were to where they are now? Man, The Rock was kicked off the football team. And he talks about in his story, he got back to Florida. He didn't even have a way to get back from the airport. And his dad had to come get him from the airport. And how he was depressed. And he sat in the apartment or wherever they lived. And he, watched, I don't remember if it was soap operas or talk shows or whatever it was. And everybody knows The Rock now. He's the most highest paid actor in all of Hollywood. We know him now. And then I watched a documentary on The Rock where it talked about how he went into wrestling and they all hated him. They hated his guts, but he continued to push forward. Can you imagine getting into an arena and everybody is booing you and they're yelling at you and screaming at you and saying terrible things? But then he won them over. He won the crowd. But then he had the opportunity to go be in a movie. And then when he went to be in the movie, the wrestling crowd turned on him again. The documentary, I think, is on Netflix or iTunes. I think is where I bought it and watched it on a plane. And so it was really interesting to hear his story, how they all like, you betrayed us, and I can't believe, go back to Hollywood, and now everybody pretty much loves The Rock. Also recently saw an article about Colonel Sanders, because see, some of you are telling yourself a story, a bull crap story. Hey, look, I'm too young, right? Well, Caleb Maddox is a guy that I met, him and his dad, Matt, that's the friends of mine, and I was talking to them. I mean, Caleb Maddox is a teenager. I'm not sure what his age is now, but I think he's been speaking since it's been a few years since I actually saw him speak in San Francisco. Now he's a millionaire as a teenager, speaks all over the world, hanging out with celebrities, because he had a mindset and goes, you know what? I am going to go out there and I'm going to change my life. And my dad and I are going to do this thing. And very inspiring and motivating. So you go, maybe I'm too young. Maybe I'm too old. I saw an article about Warren Buffett, where over 99% of his net worth was after he turned 50 years old. After. Or Colonel Sanders, saw an article with him where he talked about how, I think it was 65, but he was turned down 1,009 times for his recipe for the fried chicken, right? That we still know today that's all over the world, right? But he was like 65 or something before he started having success. So I'm too young. I'm too old. Well, I didn't make it through high school. I was listening to the podcast with Ed Milet and Rob Dyrdek. Most people that I used to think Rob Dyrdek was just a skateboarding dude because when my kids were skateboarding, but now I realize, this guy is a machine when it comes to business. You see him on TV. He's got all these companies, and he talked about his goal to be a billionaire. But when you really hear his story, like you can go watch it on Ed Milet. It's on YouTube where he interviews Rob Dyrdek. And the guy has a great heart. He just loves helping people. But he talked about how, I believe it was him, that he dropped out of high school. Some of you are going, well, you know what? My past. You don't know what I've done in my past. Start listening, reading, watching other people's stories, and it will motivate you. And we think about, hey, look, if you really think about the time that we really have 8 years to give it all we have. And I don't want to get to the end of my life and be sitting there going, you know what? I wish I would have made more people happy. I wish I would. No, we're going to be going, man, if I had to live my life all over again, I remember when my grandfather was in the hospital And he had worked at a foundry his whole life. And because they had asbestos in the walls and all that stuff at that time, they didn't know how bad it was for you. And I remember him going, if I had my life to live it all over again, I would never sell out to a company. I would have took some chances. Well, you know what? Those who don't take chances don't make advances. I don't want to get to that point. I told myself that day, I go, man, I don't want to be laying here on my deathbed going, I wish I would have reached toward my full potential. Because just like I said on my previous lives this past week, I really believe that we're designed for success by a creator, but we're programmed for failure by the world. Okay, another story, Pitbull. I heard Pitbull speak. We think Pitbull's just, man, a great singer and songwriter and all this stuff. Man, his story is phenomenal. And what he's doing to give back is phenomenal. How he talked about how he was kicked out of so many different school systems. But his mom, every morning, because he talked about he went to turn a radio one morning and she smacked his hand. She's like, that's not your radio, right? That's my radio. And so going to school, Pitbull's mom made him listen to Tony Robbins. And because he learned all of those things, his subconscious started to work and it turned his life around. That's why on his song, he says, I turned my life from negative to positive, right? That's what he's talking about. Now he's friends with Tony Robbins. And I actually saw him at an event where both of them were there at the event. And I got to be honest with you, I was just as motivated and inspired by Pitbull as I was Tony Robbins. Okay, learn something different from both of them, but just powerful when it comes to that. When it comes to Ed Milet, listen to his story, right? How he was growing up in school, he was bullied. You know, he was so skinny, they called him Eddie Spaghetti. And now this guy's worth, I don't know how many hundreds of millions of dollars, but more than that, his mission is to give back and to help people, right? And so all of these people, when you start listening to these people, it starts changing the philosophy that we have. What is a philosophy? It's what we hear, what we read, what we see, the people we're around, how we gather that information and how we hold that information. So that's why we go, hey, look, a teenager, you say it to them and it goes in one ear and out the what? The other ear. Exactly. Hey, Brittany, what's up, Jeff? And so what happens is that's the filter, that's the philosophy. When you start changing the filter between your ears, it's amazing the difference that it makes in your life. And let's see if there's any other stories. The guy that started Quest Bars. So I was listening to Ed Milet. Can you tell I'm on an Ed Milet kick lately? I don't know. Some people we relate to, and you'll find that person too. And I just love the way he teaches and talks about peak performance and, you know, in every area of your life, not just one area of your life, which is definitely important. But he was interviewing the guy that started Quest. The guy's name is Tom. I'm not sure if I'm saying this right. Bilyus, maybe, Bilyeus. And he was talking about how Tom was say, look, man, I was depressed. I was in an apartment with no furniture on an air mattress. I just wanted to sleep. And I met the girl of my dreams and I wanted to marry her. And I flew to, I forget what country. And her dad was very successful. And I asked him to take his daughter's hand in marriage. And he's like, heck no. You can't take care of yourself. How are you going to take care of my daughter? And so this guy goes out, turns the negative into positive, okay, starts letting things fuel him, make him better, not bitter, not using things as a stumbling block, but a building block. And what does he do? He goes out and now he's worth, last I heard, over $400 million. And so recently when he was visiting her dad, he goes, how have I done taking care of your daughter? And the dad just started crying. Right? So the purpose of this live stream was hopefully to motivate and inspire at least one of you. And again, feel free to share this, feel free to tag people in it, because that's the reason that I'm doing this, is to make a difference. If you realize the amount of time that we have, that we sleep, we drive, we do this, we do that, and you take all of that out, and if you didn't get that, go to the beginning of the live and watch it over again. And so we basically have 8 hours. Every single minute is gold. And here's the crazy thing about it. I remember hanging around Paul J. Meyer, the billionaire, going, how in the world does this guy have 40 companies in 60 countries that does billions? I'm like, how does one man do all of this? Well, guess what, everyone? When the lady stood up in the audience, when I was at Tony Robbins' event at the GoPro in Vegas with Eric Worre, and he goes, give me a reason you're not having success in your life. And I'm like, oh, heck no. I am not going to stand up and give Tony Robbins an excuse. I know where this is going, right? At least I was smart enough for that one. But this lady she had courage. And she stood up and she said, you know what? I just don't have a lot of time. And Tony Robbins, he goes, really? You don't have enough time. Isn't that interesting that it's the only thing that every single one of us in the entire world have that's the same, right? So the way I look at it is we all have 24 hours. We all have 24 hours. It's like a suitcase. But the difference is, what do we put in that suitcase? And so when you really put things in perspective and go, wow, if I break it all down and look at the fact that an average lifespan is 78 years and 28 of those will be sleeping. 7 of those sleeping years you're spent lying awake worrying. Factor in 11 years of watching TV, surfing the internet, 10 and a half years working, 4 years driving, the years spent eating, getting dressed, doing mundane tasks, and it leaves approximately 8 years to go out and live. Who gives a rip what other people think? I do not want to get to the end of my life on my deathbed going, I wish I would have whatever. No, I want to give everything I possibly can. I want to die empty. I recently heard, it was David, last name was Goggins. And I know, Brittany, you were there too. Powerful. Okay, here's this Navy SEAL, did 4,000 and some pull-ups within 17 hours, broke world record, decided, he hadn't been training in a year, decided he's going to run a 100-mile race. He does all these things. He's got a new book coming out. And he says, listen, my thing is, he goes, in my mind, this helps me. I don't want to go be in front of the Creator one day. And he goes, man, this is the version of you that I had, but you never made it, right? So you made it here, but you never made it to your full potential. He goes, in my mind, and I know this is not how it actually is going to work because he's all knowing. He goes, I want to go in front of the Creator and God go, you know what? I'm all knowing. And yet you were going to do this. And yet you went out there and you shocked me and you did this. And he goes, I know that's not how it's going to work, but in my mind, that helps me visualize that I want to be the best that I possibly can. And here's something interesting that he trains on. He goes, the 40%, Navy SEALs, he taught his people, and I guess this may be something they teach throughout the whole, to every Navy SEAL, that even when you think you can't take one more step, like you are physically going to die. That's the way you feel. You have a reserve tank with about 40% left. And so that's when you start thinking about the time that we have here on this earth, that we're made in the image of our Creator, that none of us have tapped into a fraction of our potential, right? Not even a fraction. When you start thinking about all the bull crap excuses that we give ourselves, I'm too young, I'm too old, I didn't make it through high school, I didn't make it through college, everybody knows that I failed, I failed this many times. Well, guess what? Colonel Sanders failed 1,009 times. I mean, that's crazy, right? So every successful person that I've met, the majority of them have had the most challenges. The majority of them have had the most rejection. But again, like I said on the other live stream just a couple days ago, right? A lot of times it takes going through the mess to be able to have the message. And so hopefully this encouraged you to go out there and go, you know what? Today's the day. Don't procrastinate. Don't be a procrastinator. Some of you are like, procrastinators, unite tomorrow. Don't do that, right? Today is the day. It's a good time to get started. If we wait till we feel like we're ready, we're never going to be ready. And I've learned that as well. Every day, motion creates emotion. And act the way you want to feel. And soon you will feel the way you act. Don't wait and go, well, when I feel like I'm ready, then I will start going to do some of these things. You'll never be ready. It's just going out there and it's failing forward, as John Maxwell's book talks about. So I appreciate each and every one of you watching this. Again, feel free to share. Feel free to tag people in these. And then also I would love your feedback. Like, what was the takeaway from this live that really made a difference in your life? Or just, hey, that was something I needed to hear at this time, because I always like to go back and do that. And then on the other side, if you would like to see me start doing some, business trainings when it comes to direct sales and network marketing, the home-based business world, which that's my passion. I love that too. And that's what turned my life around, being able to go out there, be an entrepreneur and have time freedom. I have a field trip tomorrow, right? I love that freedom. To me, it's not the money. It's what the money allows me to do, which is going on a field trip with my daughter tomorrow. And so if you'd like me to start doing that, I just like to see the interest of, the people on here. But hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.